Hello and welcome in to this week's edition of the walkthrough, the debut edition of the walkthrough. We're still dealing with some technical difficulties and everything, getting this thing going, but welcome in. This will be the weekly show, weekly time as well. Again, getting everything off on the ground. So this is the debut, the premiere episode of the walkthrough with the Big Spur on the Chief Sports Network. Welcome in, everybody. It's going to be a fun little ride here as we get things going and underway again. We'll get things all lined up, logos, everything lined up as we further progress into the season. We'll have everything ready to go for football next week. But wanted to get things off the ground. Luke RJ already checking in. What's going on, man? Turn me up, Joe. Spurs up. How we doing? Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. A little bit of a different time this week for me, but I love it. We're here in the morning. I believe it's going to be, we're going to shoot for 9 to 10. Might even stretch it into this 10 o'clock hour too, depending on how things go. But yeah, welcome in to the walkthrough, the new and revised walkthrough. Again, we'll get some things ironed out in terms of branding and everything. We're bare bones here today, but yeah, getting into it. Football, less than 10 days away, 9 days away from South Carolina kicking off the season against Old Dominion. A lot of fun stuff planned at Williams. Bryce Hootie and the Blowfish is going to be here this weekend, which is an incredible way to kick off a season. Obviously, with Hootie and the Blowfish, one of your best alumni, or some of your best alumnus coming back through to kick off a football season. There's just good energy there. It's good energy when Hootie's back in town. So there are a lot of good things going on next weekend. If you can get out to him, go. But yes, no better way to kick off your season than with Hootie. South Carolina should take care of Old Dominion, but again, we still got a little bit of ways to go, so there's still some questions going into this season, right? The depth chart should be out within, next week or so. So we'll have it. It's going to be interesting to see where it necessarily stacks up on the two deep. This wide receiver room is going to be something to watch as well. It's something that has been really, nobody has really emerged from this wide receiver room yet. And it's going to be interesting to see which guy, kind of steps up. Right now, we know Harbor needs to, have a big sophomore season. He got all the hype from the football game in July and everything. And, it's kind of died down since. But the expectations for this kid are massive. So how big of a leap is Nick Harbor going to make? I think that's one of the bigger questions surrounding this offense and this team, this offseason. And so I fully expect Harbor to make a very big jump, right? I think he's been working. He's got to work on the hands. That's always been one thing that he's had to work on. But again, it's something that, it's fixable, right? That you can work on that. That just comes down to, actually putting in the hours and grinding and working with your quarterback on the timing and everything. And from everything that we've heard, Harbor has been doing that, right? So I expect him to emerge, but also he's still a young player, right? We saw it started to slow down for him a little bit last season, right? Towards the end of it, but when he first got cracked in the lineup, you could tell, he was still a rookie, right? Like he was still a freshman at the end of the day. So it'll be interesting to see where, Harbor's at, when it comes to game time and if he's going to be, the dude right away. And do I think he will be? No, I think, one of these veteran guys like Gates Larvadain is going to step up, so it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of the wide receiver room and also where that looks on the depth chart and who's going to be the number one, the two, the slot and whatnot. And I think, obviously you'll see different guys and if they're in different spots on the depth chart and whatnot, you're going to see some rotation, some momentum there, but different guys can pop off, right? You still got guys like Tyshawn Russell and whatnot too. William Dean, what's going on? Checking in. Also, JC Sherbert, the boss man. Welcome, Joe, in the walkthrough. JC, appreciate you checking in this morning as we get things underway. Talking about the depth chart, the wide receiver room, most importantly. It's going to be a battle, and it's been heating up, with camp and everything, these past couple weeks. And so who will emerge? We will see the depth chart again coming out this week. So we'll see who they expect to be the guy. And obviously we've had our own, questions, if you will, our own theories on who the guy is going to be coming out of that wide receiver room, but we'll have a definitive answer, and it's going to be fun to know. One guy we know is not going to be involved is Amari Huggins-Bruce, transferred or rumored to transfer back to Louisville. That's a sticky situation that you are going to be in. This soon before the season. Like, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. So Huggins-Bruce, you can factor him out of that wide receiver equation now. I guess, somebody who wasn't quite, seeing the reps that, he was expecting. And so I guess the rumor on the street is that, wants to head back to Louisville. And again, I don't have any confirmation or anything like that. It would just be kind of an interesting move. So Maddox Smith checking in. I commenting right away. I love this comment right here. I firmly agree with this. Speaking of the wide receivers room, so it's timely as well. Mike Furrey will be the best hire of the Shane Beamer era, is what I'm guessing you're getting at here. But yes, Mike Furrey, unbelievable coach so far, so good, right? We'll see how he is at developing guys. I can't imagine he's bad at developing players. He's an unbelievable recruiter. Has done a great job since. He's been here. And so, yeah, Mike Furrey, really high energy guy, really easy to like. I agree. He's depending on how this wide receiver room performs, right? And now I expect big things, but it's, Mike Furrey's development is going to be, on full display here, with what he can do. Maddox Smith played for him at Limestone. That's pretty sweet. So I'm sure, yeah, like you've gotten the full Mike Furrey experience then, and everything that we've seen. Again, I've interacted with Coach Furrey a bunch in the media and whatnot, and yeah, it's he's a very high energy guy is what we get from him, and I don't know how you can tell a guy like that no when he's in your living room trying to sell the school that whatever he's selling for. So Maddox, I'm with you. I think Coach Furrey could be one of the best hires. Absolutely. Sean Elliott as well. William Dean. Yeah. Getting Sean Elliott back was huge. I think he's going to be a big part of the staff, especially with the play of these tight ends. Right. And I was getting into that as well. William, these tight ends are going to be sneakily the best part of this roster. Alice checking in as well. Yes. Morning. How's it going? But yeah, so these tight ends are going to be really, 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 really good. I think, Josh Simon, Brady Hunt, both ballers, man, both ballers. Simon's he's had a year to grow under Trey Knox, really, figure out the SEC. So, the sky's the limit for this tight end group. And when you have Sean Elliott, in that room, making these guys that much more tougher, I think it's a humongous advantage. FG checking in. Joe with the hoodie already. Yeah, it's cold in my house. It started getting a little chilly. I know it's August and my butt's about to be whooped by these 90-degree heat that's coming. But I was a little chilly this morning, FG, not going to lie. So I had to throw on the hoodie and get things going. Gamecock fans, his Rocket could be one of the best running backs in the SEC. Yeah, I was going to get to the running backs. Speaking of the dogs and in the tight end room, I think you have two of them in 3, 4. Your running back room is restocked and loaded, right? It's going to be one of the better parts of this offense, right? You've got a proven player in Rocket Sanders, proven at the SEC level as well. The only question with him is can he stay healthy? He is healthy from everything that we know, right? And everybody's backed it up. Rocket's good to go. He's good to go. He's good to go. So we have every reason to believe that Rocket Sanders is fully healthy and ready to go. But this is the SEC, right? And you have bigger games every week, right? Every week is a big game. And so, it's goes to say, with just how college football is evolving as it is right now, every week is a big game. You don't have as many, sleeper games, if you will, unless you're Notre Dame this year, which their schedule is mad weak. But so, yeah, every game is a big game in the SEC. So you don't really have weeks where, you're going to be up by 3 scores and you can limit your running backs a little bit, or be up by 2 scores and you can really limit your running backs a little bit. You're going to need Rocket Sanders to play. And so when Rocket Sanders is playing that much, you're going to need your backup backs to be good. And that's where Oscar Attaway comes in handy, right? Absolutely. Oscar Attaway comes in handy big time, and I think Oscar Attaway is going to be big out of the backfield, right? In the passing game, his hands are really, really good, sneaky good. So watch out. I think and Oscar. I mean, he's not. I feel like sometimes like he can get a bad rap too, where it's like, okay, he's the power running back. No, I don't necessarily think so. I think Oscar Attaway is more of a zone running back, kind of speed. He's a 5-tool player, right? I mean, essentially, when you think about it, he can do power if you need him to, but that's not necessarily his game. It's not necessarily where I see him at least. And so I think Oscar's going to be fantastic running RB2, and Rocket's going to get the start. And now Oscar could outplay him too. Like you never know. But that's just the way I see it shaping out. But these guys are going to be some dogs, most definitely. William Dean says, and Jared's or Michael Smith. I mean, in the tight end room, yeah, another dog, absolute dog, Michael Smith. Excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. Michael Smith is, I mean, and he's put on so much weight and everything and shine in the weight room. All of that has been good. And everything from a football standpoint, they've loved from Smith. So when you've got a guy like Simon and Hunt in there, 2 veteran guys, bringing up this next generation of tight ends, it can only make you excited. So I would agree. Maddox says, who are your starting 3 receivers against ODU? It's a good question. 3 receivers to start against Old Dominion. I'm gonna have to go with, and no, don't quote me on this, but this is my best bet at this point, right? I'm gonna go Nick Harbor, Gage Larvadane, and Jared Brown. I think Mazio Bennett cracks into the rotation a little bit. We might see some DeBron Gatling as well. Tyshawn Russell, but my 3 starters: Gage Larvadane, Nick Harbor, and Jared Brown. Vandrevius Jacobs could see him as well. But Maddox, I don't know, man. When you ask you've been watching me for a little bit, when you ask me to name like 2 or 3 guys, I'll give you a 5 anyways. So Lance Playa, what up, Killa? Great stuff this AM. So Bruce got buried. Yeah. Well, Mario Huggins, Bruce, I believe, is what you're talking about. And so that it's an evolving situation. We will see. EXO says, hey, Joe, what are you doing over here? No more Sunday evening walkthroughs. Welcome. Yeah, so a little bit of a schedule change, EXO, and obviously took the job with the Big Spur, so happy to be here. And also super, super thankful to all my people at Gamecock Central. I still love all of them. They're the best. Wes, Chris, Jack, Mike, Shu, the whole lot of them over there. Wellbaum as well. They're the best. But yes, made the move over to the Big Spur to cover women's hoops and then also some football as well. Do all this fun video stuff. But yes, the walkthrough will be ideally 9 to 10, 9:30, 10:30-ish kind of range on Thursday mornings. And every Thursday morning. And then we will also have a Sunday night show. There's a Sunday night show already going on over here. So I will be joining up with the squad over there. I believe it's Alex Jones that does that show. So we'll be joining up with them for the typical Sunday night time slot. So should be a lot of fun. And again, super happy to have made the move over to the Big Spur. And thank you again to all my GC people. Wes Mitchell again celebrated a decade with Gamecock Central. So that's crazy. That's awesome. He's the man. Appreciate everyone over there for giving me my start and all that as well. So William Dean, we're loaded. Yeah. This, at least in the tight end room, you are. And knock on wood, I do it a lot on my shows. I don't know how much they do it over here, but I knock on wood quite a bit whenever you talk about injuries. Don't need any of the bad karma, any of the bad juju getting out there. But yes, William, I think this tight end room is pretty loaded. And then when you have Sean Elliott at the helm, yeah, 100%. EXO, it's a lot of fun, 100%. Maddox, my starting 3 is Larvadane if healthy. Yeah. Dre Jacobs and Nick Harbor. Yeah. Dre Jacobs has been making a lot of ground, like making a name for himself this camp. One guy that came in, I mean, he's got some size to him. And so, it's going to be good. Dre Jacobs, again, I could definitely see him in the rotation. Larvadane, you need him healthy. Need him healthy, but man, that kid can fly. Coming out of Miami, Ohio, led the MAC in punt returns. I mean, he's so fast, right? And then when you factor in the speed of Harbor and everybody else, it's going to be quite good, quite good. One another thing I did want to talk about. How do you? I want to see how the viewers feel about this, but Juju McDowell. How do you expect them to use Juju McDowell? Something that JB brought up yesterday. And could we see him used as a wide receiver? Is he got could he help out this wide receiver room? Because this is the second time in 2 years where you're just you need help at that wide receiver room, and so you're moving a position player over in Juju McDowell over there. I mean Juju McDowell to wide receiver. I think they're going to use him out of the backfield, but I think he's going to be very used as well, like in the passing game. I mean, you have a guy that's that fast, and now how much of an option will he be from the jump? I don't know, but he'll get his touches for sure. Maddox says listening to Beamer sounds like punt returner, but in my opinion, he's more of a kick returner. Yeah, and you have to utilize that speed if you've got it. And again, if they're going to use him on offense, I see him out of the backfield. Luke RJ says Juju in at running back at 3rd and long. That's also not bad. I could see that punt receiver William Dean, and then Maddox said punt or kick returner, punt returner. I like it all. And Shane's trying to find an option for him, right? Do you move him to wide receiver again? I think that just kind of messes with that room a little bit, even though he falls into the class, right? I mean, he's kind of similar to Mazio, but a lot of these wide receivers in this room that are undersized but have wicked speed and unbelievable, competition aspect of their of their game. So punt returner, running back at 3rd and long is interesting because again, I like his options out of the backfield. How are his hands is the next question, right? Is if his hands are really good, then you might want to, right? Run a little halfback screen. Get a couple blockers upfield. I mean, everybody's played the video game. Halfback slip screen, 3rd and long, every single time, right? But so just a little backfield action like that on 3rd and long with Juju, I think could be beneficial. Now that's if they see it, right? Now, as I mentioned, Oscar Adaway can catch passes too. He can catch passes really, really well. So I could see OA3 just being the receiving back out of the backfield because he's talented like that. Like he can do that, and it's on his film for sure. Maddox says, bigger question is what do they do with Luke Doty? What do they do with Luke Doty? That is a great question. Doty's an interesting one. Similar to sliding into that DK Joyner role. I could still see him playing. He's gonna be they're gonna give him some action for sure. I definitely think that Doty will see the field to some extent. He's a vital part of this roster, right? A vital part of this roster, one way or another. He's been at South Carolina. He's a really, really good leader. And he's just one of those locker room guys that you can't afford to miss. And so he helps with culture and everything. So will he see the field as much? No, again, it's one of those to carry on Joyner roles and things of that nature. But I don't know. I mean, but he's such a big presence in the lot, huge for these guys in this locker room. So it's a good question, Maddox. It is a good question. What is up? SC Beach Boy says, what is up with Huggins? Bruce, heard someone ask Loggins if he's still on the team. He said Beamer would have to address that. Yeah, Huggins, Bruce, again, and it's just a rumor and everything. It's just kind of been swirling around that, he might possibly transfer back to Louisville. And so that's something that you gotta watch. It's gonna set if he does go to Louisville, it sets a bad precedent in college football, in my mind, because again, he's transferring right before the season starts, and I would assume he can play right away, and that's free agency, right? That is free agency to me. I don't see a world where that's not just basic and general free agency at that point, right? So And so again, it's all rumors and everything, but I definitely a guy that's been, out of, if he's upset and thinking that he's going to transfer back to Louisville, then, it's obviously he's not seeing the role for himself or something, like there's something else going on, right? Like obviously he wasn't going to be one of those guys that was going to be emerging in this wide receiver room, right? So I don't know. We'll see. It's certainly an evolving situation, but if he does go back to Louisville at this point, at this stage in the game, it's free agency. Like you can't tell me that's not free agency at this point, and it already is the way the transfer portal is already set up. But it's like 5 days or like 9 days before the season starts. So I don't know. I don't know. Maddox, appreciate you, boss man. Lance Player says Juju and Luke will leave this place with legend status after they make some plays this season that change the trajectory of the program. Lance Player swinging from like the top ropes, man. I love it. I love it. Confidence is key, man. Confidence is key, especially in this program. And yes, it's Lance. You're right on the money there. I think because these guys, if they're going to make an impact on this team, it's going to be in situations where you need them the most, right? Because if they're not going to be as heavily involved with the day to day and like the immediate game plan, when their numbers called, they got to step up, right? It goes back to, making your name for yourself as a freshman. Now it's just a little bit different framing, right? If you think about it, right? Now the framing is a little different. It's just you got to be clutch because you're a veteran. So it's different. It's the same thing at the same time. If that made sense, I hope that made sense. But yes, absolutely. FG says I can see Campbell turn into a major contributor towards the middle of the season once he's worked with this offense more in real time. Yeah, Dale Von Campbell, transfer from Nevada, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of guys. FG, it's really early, but I know who you're talking about. He's one of those guys that they want to see eventually work into this lineup. I kind of see him more of as a Jawarn Howell, right? A younger guy that can on Maddox. Here we go. So yeah, Jawarn Howell. I was gonna get into him, but yeah, he's a younger guy who has really high upside, and you take him in the portal, you let him see it, you let him see the offense, you let him develop a year, and then he's ready to go next season, right? It's almost like drafting like. I hate to talk about the Packers because I'm a Bears fan, but when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, right, and then they let him sit a year, same situation. And now this wide receiver room, there's a little bit, more of he's not necessarily sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, but I think Campbell's one of those guys that if you're going to work him into the lineup, it's going to be later on, and if not later on in the year, next year for sure. But one of those guys that they want to see ramp up and really take things on fast. FG, so good point. Gamecock fan said, I thought I read he would have to redshirt this year and play in 2025. Yeah, Campbell is one of those guys that again, he's more of a future, right? They're putting their chips in there for the long term. Jawarn Howell, same deal. Now I could see Howell breaking through and playing. He's a good back, right? Really good back, got some length, really fast. We were lucky to get him from SC State, and so now he's in the offense. He can develop. Jawarn Howell's he's in there. He's pushing rocket. He's the next generation of running back at this school. And then also when you factor in like Howell is going to be the next guy up. Oscar's got one more year of eligibility left as well. So if they can kind of figure out what they're doing with Oscar and everything and how all that wants to go. But your two running backs next year very easily could be Oscar Attaway and Jawarn Howell. And that is a good situation to be in. Jawarn Howell is a talented back. Will we see him a lot this year? No, because again, I think it's a crowded room, but really talented guy. You should feel confident if Jawarn Howell is in the game. And I wouldn't be shocked if they use him a little bit as well. Excuse me. Hunter Herlong says, what about the walk-on tight end? What is the word around town on him? Maurice Brown. It's pretty unbelievable story. Wicked smart. He's played a lot of football. with some really, really good people. He grew up with Caleb Williams, I believe, like working out with all those guys. A stud, absolute stud. Probably going to be on scholarship eventually too as well. Um, and then Maddox Smith and JC both chiming in. Matthew Fuller's a stud as well. Yeah, Fuller's gotten some good looks too as well. So the next generation of running back is already here, which is good. It's exactly what you want. You want them developing, getting into the lineup, getting cracks at this defense, getting things going. So yeah, Fuller as well. Fuller, Howell, Attaway again, because Attaway's only got one more year left, so it'll be Fuller and Howell too. If you're talking about the bright future, way down the road too as well. But Hunter Herlong, back to this. Yeah, Maurice Brown. Yeah, he's. I could definitely see him picking up some kind of scholarship down the road. And I believe we wrote a story on it here at the Big Spur. Everyone's kind of been giving him his run, but Alan Cole with the Scoop or whatever did the big write up or profile on him, which is pretty good. DJ Braswell. Yeah. Absolutely. He shined too. Absolutely. Again, this running back room, obviously this year you've got the Rocket, you've got Oscar. But I mean, shoot, if there's going to be a lot of competition in this room as well. Like, I mean, fighting for that number 2 and number 3 spot from a week in and week out basis. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to end up 2, 3 and get those reps. And again, you've got a lot of different backs in there too. I think Braswell and Fuller can go between the tackles a little bit better than Attaway can, right? And Rocket can. So, and that's what you use those young backs for, right? That's part of the job. You got to go in between the tackles sometimes. And Fuller and Braswell are both big boys, so they can handle it, right? They can handle it. They can go between the tackles. But yeah, absolutely. DJ Braswell. I could see some power running with these guys. Absolutely. JC, I appreciate it, boss man. Thank you. Good morning, Steven Bessinger. How we doing? Talking a little bit depth chart stuff, preseason cleanup, cleaning house with the first episode of the walkthrough here on the Chief Sports Network, the Big Spur. Again, excited to be over here. Made the jump over last week, making my video debuts all this week. So super excited. Obviously, we're really bare bones here in terms of our outline and stuff, but we're moving along. We'll have everything ready to go as we get going. But yeah, it's been a good morning, Steven. Again, getting things rolling on the Chief Sports Network. Lance says the depth of this team is so refreshing. Absolutely, 100%. And it's one of these things that it's why the coaches are excited about this squad as well. Because yes, it's unproven depth, but last year you knew you weren't going to have that much depth, and it's like, well, what could go wrong is probably going to go wrong, and it did. You got torn up by the injury bug, and again, knock on wood, I do it a bunch on my show. When you ever talk about the injury bug, you gotta knock on wood. But yes, when you have depth, you can be confident about it. And when you have good depth, which whenever I think about good depth, I go to the defensive end room in particular, because Sterling Lucas is very, very, very excited about his depth that he has. He wants to run it like hockey shifts. He talks about it all the time, right? And I don't know if you guys watch hockey. I know it's kind of a foreign concept to the South down here, but it's quick. Hockey shifts are quick. And so I think that's exactly what you need when you're going through the grind of the SEC, right? I mean, Ole Miss runs high-paced offense. Tennessee runs a high-paced offense. So you need dogs consistently in the game that can perform. You need to be confident in your guys, because there's a difference when you have guys on paper that look good, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, if this guy got in the game, he could be all right. Yeah, sure, no problem. But it's different when a guy like that can execute. Defensive end, Kyle Kennard, Gilbert Edmond, followed up by like Des U and Dylan Stewart, like scary. And then you're also going to have linebackers rushing the passer off the edge as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see how everything goes. But yes, depth is huge, and that's yes, you are not as deep in some positions, sure, but I think there's a lot of depth that this team is comfortable with. Steven Messenger says better than talk about the Braves. Yeah, better than talking about the White Sox. I'm a White Sox fan, Chicago guy. Being from South Bend, my allegiances were to Chicago, but yeah, better. The White Sox not fun to talk about. Apparently, the Braves not either. I am not the biggest Braves fan in the world. I've alliances to Philly, but probably shouldn't have said that. Anyways, Joe, how was the best way to get started with the Big Spurs transferring from Limestone yesterday? Talk to JC and John. Hit the DMs. Hit my DMs as well. We'll get in touch for sure. Let's see. Caleb Thomas, who's going to kick the rock? Big concern no one is talking about. Yes, it is a big concern. And that's a great question. Mason Love, possibly like I don't know. Mason Love has got a boot. Kai Kroger's your guy, right? And Joe DeCamillis is the man. Let me say this first. Joe DeCamillis is the man. He knows what he's doing in terms of special teams. Pete Lemon very much knew what he was doing. Joe DeCamillis knows what he's doing as well. So whoever they trot out there, I would have full confidence in. But we'll see. It might very well be a freshman. And Mason Love, which again, I've talked to Mason Love before. Really good kid. You should have no problem rooting for somebody like this. But yeah, no, it is a big concern. And Kai Kroger too. We talked about him on our show yesterday with JB, JC, and the gang. Is if Kai Kroger's going to have another year, right? Like, is he going to take a step back? Is he going to take a step forward? What is Kai Kroger's year going to look like? And to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what Kai Kroger's year is going to look like. And now I gave my best guess there yesterday. Right now, I think he's going to take a step forward from last year. Will he be back to what he was in 2022? No, I don't think so. I think it's hard to do. It was a good combination of vibes. Now it also depends on this offense, right? I think Kai had to punt a lot. Like he was kind of backed up. It was a lot of stressful situations you were punting out of last year. He had a lot of guys in his face. So we'll see. But I think Kai takes a step forward. It's not going to be as bad as it was last year. And so, fans will be able to get off his back and he'll ride out into the sunset, if you will. Alex Herrera. Yes, more confidence is big for Herrera. And again, he very well could win the job out too. Absolutely. JC's also a Sox fan. He said the wife and I are turning down a party bus trip to Elvis night. Elvis night's the best night, JC. That's crazy. That's wild, man. Elvis night's the best night at the guaranteed rate. The cellular back from when I was growing up. But that's wild. They stink. Yes. So no Braves, no White Sox talk from here forward. I refuse. Joey Guyton checking in. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Hunter Herlong says, hopefully we don't have to see Kai on the field much. Yeah, exactly. And not to ding on Kai, too, because, again, that could definitely be read off, with a little bit of zing. But, no, I would agree. I think, this offense should be high-powered to where Kai's punting in confidence situations, right? Where, it's like, yo, hey, this drive just stalled out. Go pin him back deep. Go do your thing. Instead of, hey, we need you to do this right now. Come on. Do this right now. Yeah. So when the pressure's off him a little bit and it's like, all right, go eat, King. Go crazy. Go do your thing. With the utmost confidence. That's where Kai Kroger's comfortable. So if they're, I think it's going to be a little bit of both because there's going to be some growing pains for this offense. So Kai's going to be put under some pressure situations as well. And so how he responds, we'll see. Thomas Cox says they could use Juju on end around and reverse and punt return slants from the slot. Yeah, slants from the slot are going to be a little RPO action. I mean, you guys have played the video game before. Slants from the slot, easy RPO. Yes, so Dowell Loggins isn't stupid. He knows what his options are at the NFL level. When you come from the NFL level like that, you have to explore every single option on offense. Dowell knows what. Yeah. So Thomas, definitely end around, reverse, something to get him out in the open field. Let him shake a little bit. Let him use his feet. And let him rip off 10, 15, 20 yards a game. Per play and whatnot. So I would agree there. Joey Guyton says Kai is going to be fine. He was trying the whole soccer kicking style because that's what the NFL has went to. Yeah, absolutely. And again, he just needs a combination of both. Really, at the end of it, a little bit of NFL style, swing, pooch kick, and everything like that. But then also, I think he's just got to get back to his roots, confidence kicking, man. And he'll get it down with D. Camillus. They'll square things away. It'll be all good. Joe D's the man, for sure. JC says, I know, but Ryan Zorf is an old clown, not getting a penny from me. Plus, my fat Elvis costume doesn't fit too small. There you go. Chris Shuttlesworth, what's up, buddy? Go Gamecocks. Who are you hearing is overachieving so far? A name maybe not well known yet. One of the guys I've talked about him on this show for sure. But I will say is Michael Smith is the guy that I'm just going to point to and just be like, yo, overachieving like so far. Like he's been mossing dudes at practice. And now, again, it's going to be a crowded tight end room because he's got two veteran dudes who both can play. And Brady Hunt and Josh Simon, but Michael Smith is I guess my overachiever through camp, if you will. But he's going to be a dog. He's going to be a dog. Just watch out because he got here and bulked up immediately. Like put on all the weight, everything was good, ready to go, and like everyone was like, "Dang man, like this guy could be special." So Michael Smith is my dude for sure. Maddox Smith says, like Jimmy Bradford says all the time, I think OD Fortune's going to be a lockdown corner and a top 5 cornerback in the SEC. Yeah, OD Fortune's going to step up this year. Similar to the path that Darius Rush and Cam Smith had. A lot of guys, tend to, and with Torian and Gray and in this defense, a lot of these DBs tend to have their best seasons when they are in their latter years or in their veteran years. So, I can totally see OD Fortune being that dude. And you're going to need your DBs to step up this season. Plain and simple. Steven says, hey, JC, why don't you convert to the Cubs? No, Jen from 107.5 the game will be happy. Yeah. No Cubs talk on this show at all. Absolutely not. Not allowed. But let's see. What else did I have for you? Oh, the quarterback question has been answered. Hallelujah. Right. I'll leave it off of this. Shocker to absolutely no one. Yes. Shocker to absolutely no one. The quarterback controversy is over. Lenore Sellers has been named the starting quarterback, as we kind of expected. But it is what it is. And I think you have to do that, right? You got to make Lenore's work for it. You got to make him, because if you told him he was a starter, there's a very easy chance for a guy to get complacent. Excuse me, like that. And so if you name your starter way too early, again, get complacent. Be like, all right, this job's mine. Not work as hard during the offseason. You need some kind of fuel to the fire, and Shane Beamer did that. And so now Lenore's is a guy. I think he's going to be a dude. His arm strength is his best talent, yet everyone can't seem to stop talking about how good he is, with his feet. So it's another good sign. If this team can win games, and this team can win a lot of games, then, don't shoot the messenger for throwing out the Heisman word, but we'll see. But yes, he's going to be a dog for sure. Stephen Bester said, hey, I wanted to give a shout out to Tony Annan and men's soccer team as they open the season tonight against Winthrop. Yes, absolutely. Get out to Stone Stadium in the Graveyard. If you haven't been out to a game or haven't been out to one in a while, go support the guys as they open up the season. Tony Annan's doing good things with our men's soccer team. A lot of fun, for sure. Barbara says, give it your best shot. Gamecocks, 100%. Alan says, will you return to the show? Good question. I might try to have you Vaughn down from Rhode Island. Maybe call in, do something like that. We'll see if his contract at Central allows it. Maddox Smith says, I know you're covering women's basketball. Is there anyone that was standing out in the summer? Not necessarily. I think there's a couple newcomers for women's basketball that like you're gonna get to know really, really early and often. Adele Tack, Joyce Edwards are gonna be the two bigs this season. Joyce Edwards is gonna be a stud, a dog. She's going to be so good. And again, now she's still adapting to college basketball and everything like that. But I fully expect Joyce Edwards to be as advertised. And now there will be growing pains, but she's going to be just like any other big freshman that Dawn Staley has had these past couple of years. She's going to make an impact right away and immediately. So Adele Tack too. She joined the roster kind of late last season. We really didn't see her as much, but she's kind of also the replacement at center and forward. So Adele Tack, Joyce Edwards, and then obviously the usual suspects. I mean, Tahina Pau is gonna hit Pau threes kind of thing. Full Wiley's back. Your front court's back. It's pretty crazy. Raven Johnson, like the whole roster's back minus Cardoso. Really. And so, you get Adele Tack, Joyce Edwards, number one recruit in the country. I mean, it's going to be big stuff. Everyone's returning, Maddox, and then they added the number one recruit, probably one of the best players of this generation in Joyce Edwards. And now I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with that, and then Adele Tack. So yes, they're going to be just fine. Luke RJ says, really interested to know what the run or pass to run ratio will be on offense this year, 55-45, 60-40, or balance 50-50. Yeah, I think it depends. It'll probably go case by case, really. The goal early in the season is always to get the run game off and going and establish a run game early. I fully expect them to do it against Old Dominion. And so it's going to be, I don't know. I mean, 55-45. It just depends on how Lenoris develops and how this offense comes up developing with itself too. They have running backs, and the running game, it will always be the number one priority, but they're going to air it out too quite a bit. Lenoris' arm strength is, again, his best quality, and people keep talking about how good his feet are and how good his legs are and how good he is with improvisation. So yeah, absolutely. It's and then again, you have so many options out of the backfield. So if they can figure out what's going on at wide receiver, and whoever steps up, right? Get your dogs and then go from there, right? Luke RJ, I think it's going to be pretty close. I don't think it strays out of the 60-40 split or anywhere from that, because then you're either air raid or run heavy. So sweet. That is just about it for this week's edition of the walkthrough. Kind of a shorter show, obviously, because wanted to get things off the ground, and usually we're going to start at 9 a.m. But again, I believe I can run into this 10:30 hour. We'll have to double check with the boss man once I wrap everything up. But appreciate everyone tuning in to this Thursday morning edition of the walkthrough. Maddox says, I'm worried about Kentucky because they have some burners at wide receiver. Kentucky's a must-win game at this point. It really is. You've got to execute, and you've got to execute well. Week 2, it's essentially the same thing, as that Georgia game was a couple of years ago, right? When they scheduled Georgia in week 2, and it's like, all right, bring your guts. Well, Carolina didn't bring anybody to that game. It was 55 to nothing, 55-7. And so, this game makes it, or Kentucky makes it a little bit easier on that side of things, right? But again, it's still not a pushover, and you're in Lexington. But yes, must-win game at Kentucky. They do have some burners. I don't think Vandegrift is that good though. He's career backup. He's been there forever. I don't know. I do not know. But must win for the Gamecocks nonetheless. But yes, absolutely. Chris Shuttlesworth, I appreciate you for tuning in this Thursday morning. Again, thank you everyone for joining this the inaugural episode of the walkthrough over on the Big Spur, the Chief Sports Network. And again, I'm going to get better at saying all that, and as will every other part of this show as we go along here, getting settled in with my new home. One more question before we're done. Jeff says, "What has Shane done differently to address the poor road play?" That's a good question, actually. I don't know. I mean, the road play, it's tough because, again, it's the SEC. Every road environment's hard. So I think one of the things that you can try to do is just, I mean, you got to work, right? I mean, you can pump some crowd noise in, do all that kind of stuff at practice. But, I mean, preparedness, I think, is one of the things that they're harping on or should be harping on at the very least. Because, again, preparedness gets you very far on road games. I have a weird theory about noon kicks on the road, especially in conference. I think you lose every single one of those games unless you're playing a bad team. Because again, if you think about it, like a noon kick, you get there usually Thursday, right? You sleep, you got Friday, you run through your walkthrough or something. And then, or you're getting there on Friday and then you sleep and then it's bam, noon kick. And that stinks. That's not fun. Like, it's just right. It's 8 a.m. You're waking up first thing in the morning. It's like, all right, we got to go play this team in their home atmosphere on the road at noon. They're ready. They're well rested. They slept in their own beds. We didn't. We flew in yesterday. Still a little bit, tired from all the travel and whatever. And I mean, you can make a million excuses at noon on the road in the SEC. But there's just that's one of those things where it's like, you got to be prepared at the end of the day. And it might be, certainly got to talk to them about it, but like preparedness. Luke RJ, no, we're on the South Carolina 24/7 Facebook, the game Inside the Gamecock show. But then also, obviously, you're with us on YouTube and then Twitter as well. The Big Spur, my Twitter, JC's, and then Inside the Gamecock show, I believe, Twitter as well. So that's where you can find us. And again, I'm still getting used to where everything is and all that. So I'll be sure to have more fluidity with all that stuff next week. But sweet. That will do it for this week's edition of the walkthrough. Appreciate everyone tuning in on this Thursday morning, new time slot, all that fun stuff. But yes, fun way to kick it off. Again, football 9 days away. So we are almost there. So close you can almost taste it. Should be an exciting year. Again, excited to get everything going with the Big Spur and with the Chief Sports Network here. So thank you everyone again for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.